Good morning, good day, good evening. This is yours truly, YieldMaxMindset, coming to you with year two, week 17 on my portfolio review. All right. So, believe it or not, this is actually going to be the last video portfolio review of the year. Didn't quite realize that, but that's the case. So we don't really have anything that mm, we're just gonna review our portfolio, do the Q&A, Excel spreadsheet, and get it over with, right? I do have one thing that I want to go over, and we'll go over that when I get to my Charles Schwab account. All right, right now, let's hit this. All right, so as you can see, my individual account is at 19,441, and live we're down $112. For the day, we're up $149. For the week, we're down $2,636. For the month, we're down $5,489. 3 months, we're down $37,437. Year to date, we're down 14,000. No, what? I know y'all just saw that too, right? I hear year to date, and it was like 70, it was 70 something, 79,000. I'm like, wait a minute. How am I up all of a sudden 40,000? All right. So, yeah, I saw that. I know what I saw. All right. So, for the year to date, we're down $25,664. For the past year, we're down 27,567. And all time, we're down $10,207. Our buying power is at $37.32. Available margins at 38,445. We've used 38,408. Our buffer's at $48 at 0.27%. All right. Our account is at high risk of being margin call. All right. We can see here our annual rate is at 5%. Our daily interest is at $5.25. All right. Because we're under 50K, we are getting it at 5%. If we were still previously where we were, we would prior, but sorry about that. I do not start yawning until I start doing these videos. All right, so before we got margin call and I had to sell, we was between 1K and 1 million, so that would have been 4.5%. As always, the first K, if you have gold membership with Robinhood, is the first K is interest free, so you can use that as a little strategy to take advantage of that. All right, so let's move right along here. All right, our first position is Dogecoin is at 0.127. All right, our average cost is at 0.189. We have $955 in equity. We're down $471. And if I had the available funds, I would go ahead and make this an even 10,000 shares. So right now, let's see here. 7516. So we need 2484 to have 10,000 shares right now. And Dogecoin is at 0.1271. So basically we need $315 to make that happen, which is not much. All right. All right, since we're here, just see what Bitcoin is sitting at right quick. Oh, Bitcoin is up. Oh, look there. Just went up to 90,000. It's up. It's up 20, just over $2,400 right now. So this morning, she was at 87.5. Okay. Then it got as low as 87.4, 3 p.m. And then all of a sudden at 5 p.m., she started to move up. Come back a little bit. She's gotten high as 90,000.2. Okay. Alrighty. Let's see what Ethereum is doing. Ethereum is also up. It's also up. What about everybody's favorite? CRO Kronos from crypto.com. This is everybody's position, right? Okay, so it's not moving up like that. Okay. Alrighty. That takes care of the crypto. Oh, some of y'all are XP people. All right, let's see what um it's $1.90. So it's moved up a little bit. It was 185. Moved up a little bit. Right? All right. Okay. All right. So, all right. First position up is ICOI. Is at 1679. Our market value is 83.95. We're down 29.28. We have an average cost of 22.65 for 500 shares. All right, we have dividends coming in, I believe, Tuesday for 500 shares, paying $2.25. So that's $1,123, right? So it's paying out, I think, $2.25. Why did I say think? I just clicked here and it said $2.25. So why did I say think? All right. So before this was at 1977, and so that now that it's paying $2.25, it reduced, it dropped, and then I think it dropped a little bit more. All right. So for you all who are looking at ICOI, just remember it's tied to Coinbase, and if Coinbase is not doing too well, which is the underlying position, ICOI, Coinbase is up $2.60 right now. Okay. So what is Coney doing? I haven't seen Coney. Only showing 41.13. So before the split, that would be $4.11. Okay. All right. SoFi is up 2 cents in the overnight market, 27.09. That's where it's at. Market value is at $27,090. We're down $699 for an average cost of 27.79 for 1,000 shares. All right. All right. So we're looking at this position. We've held it since, let's see here, how long we've been holding SoFi. We bought 1,000 shares November the 19th. So we've been holding a month, over a month now, a month and a week. And so it did go up in that month's time. It did hit $30. So we was up about $2,000 then, right? So we've been waiting for it to hit 33 to 36, make a little profit, sell it, and get our position into our dividend position that we're looking at and evaluating. So I hadn't made the money that I probably could have made for December because my money was sitting here in a couple of these underlying stock positions, and didn't get the quick cash that I thought I was going to get, and then turn around and get into my dividend position. But as soon as this get above my 27.79, um, I'll probably say, let's say it hits 30, right, in about a week from now. I'm probably gonna set a stop limit order. I believe that's what it's called, a stop limit order. Maybe set it at 28 or 28.50, possibly 29. If it drops back there, or you can do a trailing stop loss. But um, yeah, I need this equity so I can get my dividend positions going. And some of you are suggesting that I do cover calls on this, and I was like, man, I don't know how to do cover calls. But then I got to thinking, I somewhat have had a little experience with cover calls. I did this little course, and I forgot this lady was teaching it. Um, and it was in my E-Trade account though. I hadn't did it in RobinHood. Um, so yeah, I guess I do have a little bit. Even then, I haven't used any real money. I was using paper money, and so mm, maybe something I'll look into more going forward. All right, Robinhood is up 54 cents right now, and the overnight market is at 118.67. It's $11,867 is my market value. I'm down 11.52. My average cost is 130, 100 shares, and this is the same, just like um, SoFi. I purchased some Robinhood here. 80 shares was purchased back on December the 7th. And similar situation, waiting, and we got 100 shares back in November. I was wanting to buy some when it came down, but I really didn't have too much buying power to buy any. So let's hit refresh on that, see how much buying power. Yep, didn't have much buying power to actually catch it while I was down here, and didn't have any more cash on hand. Next, got Netflix, similar situation as well. Um, is at 94.38. Market value is 9,438. We're down $609 for an average cost of 100 for 100 shares. We purchased this back in mm, right here, December the 5th. So similar strategy. All right, now our cash account is $3,881 right now. We have buying power 339. So I did move some money from this account over into the margin account. Um, um, I think it did that Friday. I moved $30 over Friday, and I moved $144 over the day because it initially was down here, and it was saying $137 in margin. All right, so that's why this is down here, the value of it, not necessarily the positions, but the value. All right, so we had $502 and we was earning interest on that. So far for the month, we made $1.19. Since we started this account, we've made $2.67. All right, so I think on December 31st, when it finished accruing, by that time it'll add that balance to here. So it'll probably be almost $5. It'll be about nah, like four something maybe. All right. Our positions in this account is Bitwise XRP. Is at $20.78. Um, I don't know why it doesn't, when you change the account, it doesn't show it. You have to move it. All right, so the market value is 519. We're down $68. Average cost is 23.51 for 25 shares. Uh, about this in around November 24th. All right. So we thought this was going to be probably a dividend position, but this is just um, a position in XRP. So I guess you call it ETF. So it's not actually XRP. So I don't know what it's going to do because let's see when it is. When was this exception? It wasn't long. November the 19th. They did that one. They did B. This is Dogecoin. They did another one too. Forgot which one it was. Oh, Solana. I think they did a Solana. I don't know if it's BSOL. Yep. They did a Solana too. So these are not going to actually be income positions. So um, I may hold on to it, but I'm probably going to move this and put it actually in a dividend paying position. Take that 500 and move it somewhere else. All right. Next, we got Bitwise. Same thing here, but except this is with my dividend position. So we have, nope. See, it doesn't do right. All right. So in our cash account, we have 25 shares at 225 for $56.18. Netflix. Why I don't do that? All right, here cash account we're down 101. Average cost of 104 for 10 shares. Now, let's see here. Let's go back over here to our Netflix account right here. Now, no, never mind. It's going to show you something. But anyway, all right. So next we got Granite Share, um, Coinbase, right? Their version of Coney, in my opinion. All right. All right. So we have $420 down, $76, $9.95, 50 shares. Pending dividend of $12.32. Next, we got their Granite Share NVIDIA. All right, 475 down $45, 2082, and we have a dividend position here for $8.97. We have AMD. As you can see, I do have a few Granite Shares positions. All right, 558.16, down $16 for average cost of 23. Have pending dividend of $10.53. And last but not least, we have YieldMax target 25, 40.98. All right, we're down $27 here. Market value is 204 for 5 shares. All right. Next, we got our Charles Schwab account, a cash account. Total cost base is $9,100. Market value is $5,600. We're down $3,400. Now this is some. This is what I mentioned earlier in the video that I wanted you all to see. If you go back, I don't even know actually what video. It'll probably say Charles Schwab properly. I'm not sure. But anyway, so this time last year, well, actually, it would be. It really wasn't this time last year, but it happened about this time last year, almost going into next year, really. But it was probably about 3 or 4 months, probably May or March, before I realized this. So this is what I want to point it out. So had I still had my Coney and had my originally had, well, I think I had 12,000 shares. Um, After the split, I would have had 1,200 shares. But say it did split, but it was still low. The price of it was still low, right? Say Coney was $8, right? And it's like, they never got around to split. It was so all right. But anyway, so one of the things you're gonna see here. So you can see here I have Misty, right? Everybody's used to be favorite position, right? But you can see the volume here is still 1.6. TSYY, their version of Tesla, I think with granted shares at 3.8 million shares moved in volume. But check this out. All right, so Misty. All right, so I have only 8 shares here after the split. Um, the price of Misty is $30.42. My cost per share is $80.19. All right. So if my theory holds correct, this is what I would have done with Coney. I wouldn't have not sold any of my Coney because I would have been waiting for 2026, waiting for the week after or the second week after for this to happen. So what do I mean for this to happen? I think it's return on capital or return on investment that happens. And so what happens, which is I'm assuming is going to happen here, is Misty. This average cost that I have here is going to drop. Some sort of tax credit or tax advantage that works out. So that's the reason why I wasn't too worried about Coney, even though I was still trying to get my average cost down and build my position up, because I was anticipating that even though my average cost in Coney I think was either I was at 1075 or 1050, and Coney was at 7. Let's just say 7, right, or 6. I'm thinking after the first of the year, the brokerage's account do a return on investment or return on capital, and it brings down your cost per share, and it brings it close or near the actual price per share. So that's what I was counting on with my Coney position, and at that time my Misty position, because both of those were my two biggest position in my YieldMax funds, right? So we're gonna document this here. We're gonna do a screenshot of this because I want to see after January the 1st, probably the first week or second week, if the brokerage's account are gonna update this as they did with IWMY. That's what happened about a year ago. But I had stopped looking in my Charles Schwab account because I had transferred it over. No, not that time. I had, but I hadn't been following my Charles Schwab account, and I did have IWMY from Defiance Funds, and I checked it one day, and the price and the cost per share were almost identical. Um, and I was like, "How's that?" You know, it never dawned on me that, but I called the brokerage, and that's what they said. Wait a minute. Yeah, yeah. Wait a minute. Is this video recording? I don't see my little time tracker here. All right, let's check and see here. Hmm. Yep, there it is. Okay. Just want to make sure. I went up here talking and didn't have nothing recording. All right. All right. So this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna take a screenshot of this, and then after the first of the year, sometime during that month, I don't know when it happens, we're gonna compare. All right. So let's do that. So we're gonna do this. We don't need all that, but let's do this. Save. And let's do earn on income. I think it's what it's gonna be. Let's go. Okay. And let's do another one where it's a little bit more focused just on, excuse me. Let's see here. Yeah, let's do it on all of them. Mm, mm, mm. Okay. I didn't see that. Okay. All right. Or sometimes you can. All right. So we're gonna check that after the first of the year, and we're gonna see if SMCY If if our cost basis adjusts more close, it may not be exactly to the price, but it may be a few dollars within the price. Same thing with Platy. If it's not up by then, Misty, Morrow, and then some of these other positions we'll see. Maybe ICOI. We'll see if that happens with that. Um, yeah. So that's what I want to share with you because I want to see if that's correct. Because if that's the case, and my positions are down, and let's say by 3/4 of the year and they're still down, and I was like, okay, we got the end of the year coming up, first of the year coming up. Then especially if we don't get no reverse splits in any of these funds, but but there is a gap in the price, cost basis, and the price of the stock, then I will just wait for that to happen, and we'll see, if that's beneficial towards me for me. I know it's probably you probably don't understand what I'm saying. Some of you don't. Um, but anyway, this $16 should be around $8 after the first of the year, if my theory holds correct. Because I saw it with IWMY, and at the time I didn't understand it. I wasn't even thinking about that because I wasn't looking at it. But like I said, when I called my brokerage, they said that's what they had. They took about 15 minutes to do some research, and that's what they came back and told me. I said, "Oh, okay, tax benefits. All right, cool. Tax credit or something with return on capital or return on investments." All right, let's get to my spreadsheet. All right. All right. So active income for 2026. I guess you can say this is the end of the year review, but I didn't really set it up or do anything to really do no end of the year review type stuff. Just taking it week by week. But this is actually end of the year technically. So, all right. So my active income for the month of December, 8,900, excuse me, $8,096.94, bringing our year to date total for 2025, $54,829. And we paid 5,400. Well, we will pay. We ain't paid for this check we just got. But it would end up being for the year $5,482 in tithes paid to the Lord. All right. Our passive income. Last week we was at $2,031.72. This week we're at $2,113.31. Now, being that I granted shares positions and our Bitwise position will be paying on Tuesday. So I likely will add that in here. And I'm not sure if I'm going to count that. I don't know if I'm going to count that into my next week's video. But we may do both, because it technically will be paying on the 30th, but it is technically, I guess, the first week or the first few days of the year after Wednesday. All right. So our total passive income, um, so we got 96, 102, right? And I think on Bitwise, let's get this right here. Bitwise, I think we got 642 shares, and it's paying 225 basically. So you add that to 144.15. So that's about 97. And then with the others, and maybe push it up with another $80 maybe. So 90 round, maybe about 97, a little bit under 98,000. So had I increased my position, or had I not had my basically about my 30,000, if I had not had it in SoFi, RobinHood, and Netflix, and actually went ahead and put it in some dividend positions, we probably would have reached that threshold of 100K in dividends for the year. but don't look like what I know for a fact. I don't think we're going to make it. And I probably would have increased my ICOI or my ICRC position or the IGME position with Bitwise to push it over that threshold, but I didn't have those funds available to do so. All right, so that's where we look like we're going to end. All right, so combined income from our passive and active income right now sits at 150,932,000. $150,932. I said that wrong, right? $150,932. All right, so for me, I think that's going to be a new record for annual income, um, and annual income. So yeah. All right, so our average active income is 45.69. Our average passive income is $8,008. Now, in order to make over 100 or right at $100,000, I need to make, in my opinion, 85. I need to average 85 per month, $8,500 per month, in order to reach that threshold. Some say 83, but I like to go and make it 85 to reach that threshold. As you can see, I started out the first of this year at 63.79, and then y'all know what happened in March and April with the dividends amount paid was less. We picked back up in May, but I think that's because I got paid in May. I got paid by Coney twice, and so that what pushed that up. Coney paid out really big for me. I think it was about $8,000 or $9,000 that month, I think. And then we had another dip there in June, and then July and August was fairly decent. September here, and then October. This is where things changed. I said, man, I got my 16. I said, I'm just gonna make this 16. I'm just bump this baby up to 20K a month, and then we're just gonna let that pay back the margin. And so if I had showed some discipline and patience, I wouldn't have bought more than I needed. And then, of course, you now know October the 10th or October 11th, it just kept going down until now. It just kept going down. Everything pretty much was going down. So that put me in a position where I had to sell. I guess I didn't have to sell. I could have held on, but I don't think my initial capital that I started back in September of 2024 of about 30,000, I would have lost that. So I was trying to at least hold on to that initial amount that I had put in there, right? And so you can see the results of that 36, 21. That's where we are. I think we'll still be about 34, 36 for December. All right. All right. Let's see. Let me speed this up a little bit. I'm trying to speed this up, y'all, because we're at the 33 minute mark. All right. So our prior balance um, on margin was 38,436. It's currently sitting at 38,408. Robinhood Gold for the year is $60. I think you can do an annual payment and probably get it for 50 or 55. I don't quite, maybe 48. I don't remember. Um, so this is the interest that we paid on all the margin that we borrowed from Robinhood. $4,000, right? $4,000 in interest, technically making right at almost 98, 97,000. Paying $4,000 in interest wasn't bad. Wasn't a bad strategy from my perspective. Um, Excuse me. That wasn't bad for me as I consider. Let's see here. Checking something right quick. All right. So right now, I think the most it got up, I may have gotten up to 160,000 borrowed from Margin and Robin Hood, but most of the time I was hovering around 30 and 50, and then eventually I got to 80, 70. held there for a while, and then eventually I went over 100K, and that's when I think it started charging me like about 500 a month in interest. When I was getting it at 140 to 160. All right. Uh, 401k loans at 20,824. So if my math stands correct, right now we have debt of $243,192. That's our debt. Um, yeah, that's where we're at. And when I was saying, hey, I made Robinhood charge me $4,000 in interest, that ain't too bad. I also got almost, you can see right now, year to date, that interest is sitting at almost 30,000 from my credit cards, personal line of credit, HELOC. What else? I think that's that combination there. So I paid right at $30,000 in interest. Um, well, when you add that in, that puts it at about $34,000 in interest, and then I made 96,000 in dividends. And the thing was, okay, yeah, okay, I sacrificed this to get this to would be between 15 and 20K a month going into this year, and I was gonna make it 20K a month. I was gonna wipe this out, but right here, I got a little bit too greedy and impatient, and I bit off more than I should have at that time, and you know the rest. Mm. All right. So, I didn't update this, so I deposit what, maybe $170 in one. In No, I didn't. I just transferred from the other cash account over into. So I don't know. So technically, I didn't deposit. It was money I already had there. But so for year to date, we deposited $3,948, and we withdrew $13,000 from a Robinhood account. All right. So let's move right along. All right. So Divi Tracker has me right now at 22,646 annual income, making about $1,900 a month. You can see your total invested. That's including my cash and the margin, 75,304, 37,000. That is margin, and then this right here is the amount of cash that I've got invested. And then this is total here. I'm down about $9,500 in value. You add all three of these together, and that should equal 75,304 for holding 22 positions. All right. Uh, ain't much right here because this isn't tallying the information correctly because I got ICOI right. So it's saying that, where is it at? Okay. Right now, it's saying that I've made $5,893 in that, which is true. And then I guess you can say that's what I sold as a loss, 16,000. So capital gains actually, what is it? Total profit is actually down 15K, almost 16K. So these are the positions that I can't actually do Misty correctly because I sold that Misty, but it's still taking the total dividends received. So I'm not sure how to do this like I used to do it. But anyway, we'll figure it out with time. All right. All right. So most of this was green. Now it's small portion of it is green. This is the pre-market of futures, I believe. All right. So let's get to Q&A. All right. So is that 39-minute mark? Think we can do Q&A in 20 minutes? I doubt it, but let's go for it. Let's go forward. All right. Last week's video, look like there's about 16 comments. All right. Let's hit it. Q&A session begins now. All right. First up is Mike Lesser. He said, I already know how Here we go. He said, I already knew to not idle objects and what the real meaning of Christmas is, but awesome to hear you explain Prophet Jeremiah. God bless you for spreading the truth so others can see and I'm not sure. Uh, be, I don't know, well versed, be well versed. I think he was trying to say. Love it, appreciate it. He said, may it reach many because nowadays a lot of people are lost. I said, Mike, thanks for understanding. It wasn't a direct message to you. It was a segue to spread the information to others who may have been watching the video. I just saw an opportunity to share it with others, and thank you for understanding. Um, because I had put Jeremiah 10 in one of his comments, and then as I got near the end of my video, I thought I would elaborate it on some more. He replied, he says, I know my brother for sure. He said, to be honest, it's a breath of fresh air to know others who want to brush up more on God's word. You could do it at the end of the videos when the mood strikes. Code Code 77799 says, why would a God be a jealous God? Why would a God be a jealous God? And here's information I put. So if you want to go and read that, let's see if I can make it a little bit bigger here. Let's see here. Yeah, a little bit bigger. Also, he was saying, why would God be a jealous God, right? So one of the first things I mentioned, I said, when reading the Word of God, if you notice everywhere in the Word of God, when it mentions God, the Creator of the entire universe, it spells God with a capital G, and when it's mentioned anything below or a false God, um, like an idol, it spells it with a lowercase g. So I saw these two G's, and I knew, I was just showing. I didn't know that for a few years ago until someone pointed that out to me. I said the Bible describes God as a jealous God in several key scriptures, primarily Exodus 34 and 14, stating, for you shall worship no other God, which is a false God, G-O-D, lowercase. For the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God, capital G-O-D, meaning God created the universe. And in Deuteronomy 4 and 24, for the Lord your God is a consuming fire, even a jealous God. This divine jealousy signifies his exclusive right to worship and his intense desire for his people's faithfulness, contrasting with sinful human jealousy by stemming from love and a demand for rightful devotion, not envy or insecure. And here's more scriptures. Exodus 34:14. Do not worship any other God, small G-O-D, meaning if it's um what's the name of that big old gold god over there? I forgot. Uh, Buddha, the statue of Buddha, that is an idol god. Why? Because Buddha is in spirit. It's a it's a device that was created by a man in that image, and it's not a true God. No one know what God looks like. The only close you have is when the spirit of God is in Jesus, and Jesus, and that's a whole nother thing. A lot of people think there's the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, right? That they're all separate entities, But when you read God's word, he said there's none but above me, and there's none beneath me, there's none beside me. So if there is a son, and he's the son of Jesus, right? Um, I mean, if Jesus is the son of God, and wouldn't that make Jesus a God? But he said there is no other God. And what people don't understand is in the beginning, when you read Genesis, it says in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And then you go to John 1 and 1, I believe it's John 1 and 1 or St. John 1 and 1, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God, if I'm saying it correctly. And it goes on down, I think, to the 14th verse and says, and it dwelt among men. So man cannot be in the presence of God, the Spirit, and live. And no man can see God face and live. So God concealed himself in the flesh, called Jesus, which is the Lamb, which is the Son of God. That flesh had to die so it can be the scapegoat for all the human race. Even if you don't believe in God, your sins were cast upon that flesh called Jesus Christ, and that flesh was crucified. So therefore, all mankind, regardless of whether they believe God or anything like that, may have an opportunity to be saved once they come to the realization and understanding of things. But getting back to here, Exodus 20:25 says, "For I, the Lord, capital God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquities of the fathers up on the children to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me." Part of the Ten Commandments. Deuteronomy 4:24, "For the Lord your God is a consuming fire, a jealous God." Deuteronomy 6:15, "The Lord your God in your midst is a jealous God, lest the anger of the Lord your God be kindled against you, and he destroy you from off the face of the earth." Joshua 24:19, "You cannot serve the Lord, for he is holy God. He is a jealous God. He will not forgive your transgressions of your sin," meaning of God's jealousy. Um, so what did it means? And he says that he's a jealous God. It all comes back to when we was talking about Christmas, right? Think about it. If we're celebrating Jesus' birthdays around this time of year, and everybody's giving gifts to one another, but no one is giving a sacrifice offering to the Lord himself, and it's supposed to be his birthday. Now imagine it being your birthday, people throwing you a birthday party. We come to your birthday party and we exchange gifts with everybody else, but no one gives you a gift. Right? So imagine God, who created the heavens and the universe, created Adam and Eve, and we're all descendants of Adam and Eve. Someone he created. And the human race that he created, no one acknowledges him for all that he's doing. He's maintaining the sun in rotation, the moons, the seas, the stars, the cold, the season, the winters, all your lungs, your internal organs, the way they function and operate. That is a divine being that created that and spoke it into existence. Yes, God is so powerful that when he speaks, it creates. That's how heaven and earth was created. He just simply spoke it. Thanos and Superman, they ain't got nothing on God. They are the figment of a man's imagination. Thanos and um, all these other superheroes, they don't stand a chance because they're the creation. These are idols that man have created as being all powerful beings. But God just simply speaks and things happen. That's how powerful he is. All right. So if you want to read the rest of this, feel free at it. Oh, I was talking about Apostle Paul, and we was talking about. Oh, I was talking about. All right. So this is basically talking about um, us as human beings, that we'll create something like a golden calf or a donkey or a statue, and we'll have these things. And the Lord was saying, don't take things in the heavens, the seas beneath us, and worship anything that he's created. A lot of us, or some of us, we worship things that God created, and he wants us to worship him and not his creation. We give reference to the creation, the statue, or to one another, instead of giving him all the glory and praise. And that's why he is jealous, because we are, or some of us can get in our lives and we worship stuff that is non-living: wood, stone, metal, things from the sea, things in the air. These are considered God's creations, and we worship that instead of worshiping the creator being God himself. Warn against worshiping celestial bodies like the sun, the moon, and the stars. Um, so yeah, just just quickly, I just did that. All right, moving on. Alan says, my friend Oti has been rebuilt and Plate is doing great from start till now. I says, my brother, thanks for dropping in. I'm hoping at some point I'll be able to get back into Oti, and I do want to get a position in Platy also, along with Hui and some others. Dennis says, your Midwest brother, how's everything been with you? I've been busy helping my family. I had to restructure my account. It took a beating. So I got out of some of the YieldMax funds and I just have all right, so that's going to be Granite shares. I think AAPY, Hui, Kavana, iSpy, um, iConey, Playtee, Amazon, Mara, and I still listen to you when I go to work. Thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate you listening. Sometimes I probably don't be talking about nothing, probably rambling, but I appreciate you listening to the content. I said, now there was a YouTube guy that I used to listen to. His videos were like an hour, 2 hour long, right? So sometimes when I'm doing something, if I'm at work and or if I'm at home and I'm cleaning, something like that, and I want to have to be choosing multiple videos, that's when I like the long content videos because I can listen to it as I'm working, around the house and stuff like that. Or if I'm taking a long road trip, I like to listen so I don't have to be messing with the phone, flipping the videos, right? So yeah. He says, "Oh, and I like." He said, "Oh, I like your church sermon. You were serious." He says, "I can I get an amen?" Yes, sir. Amen. So what? So what? Oh, so what time? I guess I just did the next sermon, Dennis, earlier on who was that? On code 777 question statement. So yeah, I guess I just did another sermon almost. Okay, moving right along. I said, "What's up, my brother, my Midwest brother?" I said, "I have too been busy with family to the point it was tearing me down physically, and I finally got some break to recover. Didn't realize how bad I was getting down by helping others, but it was all worth it. I too had to restructure my account, and I'm still in the process of doing so. I'm still evaluating what positions to get into, and as soon as my money get freed up in my primary account, I'll take that and transfer it over to the cash account and select my positions. My church sermon, first of all, let me congratulate you on you listening to the video up to that point. It surprised me that people were still listening. But thank you all for listening. I don't know when the next sermon is, but when the Lord speaks, I'll speak. Okay. All right. Kelly says, I'm looking to get 500 weekly. I was in there in early October. Now, hold up. I'm looking to get 500 weekly. I was there in it at early October. Now at November, I'm at 380. I says 500 weekly. That's fantastic. I see you. I see you at a slight pullback to 380 a week, and that's just cause the dividends are paying a little less. But as you continue to build your position, the dividends eventually will return. Then you should have around 500 more weekly. But I was saying he should have more and look forward to more. Music decor, dec, music decor. I can't make it out. Music. He said, "Bro, you have a lot of money, and I'm like 3 minutes in. YieldMax will leave you poor. Good luck, but fair warning, it won't end well. Most of most of you YieldMax YouTubers delete your channel within a year after losing a lot of money. I said, I say music. Thank you, sir, for commenting. I don't consider that I have a lot of money. I was almost about to have some great monthly dividends at about 15 to 20K a month, but I got too greedy and impatient and used too much margin and had to sell the position that I had gained. I said, I promise you, this, as long as the Lord lives and I'm alive, I will not delete my YouTube channel, no matter how bad I lose or how bad I get down. This is a journey, and I'm chronicling it not just for others, but for myself to look back on and see my progress over the years. I hope I've learned some valuable lessons with YieldMax funds and how to navigate and putting things in place so that I don't lose the value of my money. Stop loss orders. Stop limit orders to sell at a price point to keep my money and not lose the value of it. All right. My good friend Mike says, sorry for the loss of Night, your black lab. In the past, she sounded like a riot riot sidekick. Pets to my family are like real kids, just furry, laughing out loud. I said, yes, Night was a trip. I would throw her a ball, uh, throw a ball for her and for her to go get and retrieve and bring it back. She got to the point where she got to the point where she would go and get it, and she act like she was running back straight to me. And at the last moment, she would dodge and not give it back, and I would end up chasing her. And also, I would wrestle with her in the yard. Yeah, I mean, she was a trip. She got smart. Well, like, I mean, she would bring it back, but then she got like, I guess she got tired of like bringing it back and said, "Look, I want to make you work for this. If I had to go get it, bring it, I'm gonna make sure right, like 2 feet. She would get almost right in 2 feet, and all of a sudden she would just pivot, and not, give it back, but she would hold on to it." Mike says she liked to pull the old fake out. According to the Holy Bible, heaven is only for human souls, but I sure hope we still get to be with them in some kind of way. And that's something that is true, according to the word of God. Animals don't have a soul. And that's the reason why sometimes some people I know that, they have a hard time when people sort of value the life of dog over that of a human being, because humans have soul and they have a destination. That destination is heaven or hell. Um, but I forgot there's a place in Proverbs where it talks about, and there's several examples when the Lord referred to individuals as dogs. At like the lady said, even the dogs eat crumbs from the table, right? Um, but there's a part I read in Proverbs, I think, where it says something about um positive thing about dogs or animals, about the man who cares for an animal. I forgot. I read it one time, and I had never saw that before, and I was trying to share that with some other people. All right, next video. Let's move it right along, because right now we're running behind time. My good friend Alan said, thanks for the review, man. I said, Alan, as always, you're welcome, my friend. You're always welcome. All right. Next, we got Zane said, wondering if in 2026 the dividend payouts will be similar. I'm loving the payout for ICOI. I said we still have to be careful with ICOI because it's down 60% year to date from its 52-week high of 65.60. Excuse me. And currently is at 1930. That's not good. Gary says, yes, sir, it is down. And I'm thinking about selling mines and going into a couple other that you mentioned on here. Mike says, should pop in 2026 once crypto recovers. Gary says, thanks, brother. Maybe I'll hold on to it. I did buy some ICRC. I said, Gary, I'm planning on getting some of that ICRC also once my positions get back to the break even point to sell. And he says, thank you, sir. I bought 40 shares. He said, I bought 40 shares of IC, I'm going to say iConey, right? And shares of iCircle. But I want to add more. And I know a person should always buy more when it's in the red. I have $1,800. How much would that person add to each position when it's in the red? My thing, Gary, I would just go to this site here, YieldMax. Um, this was created by Bad Financial Decisions YouTube channel. Put $1,800 in there, and you can look at some of the past. You can look at all these different themes. You can filter by actual fund or by the underlining, right? And based on the last price and the last dividend payout, you can sort of figure out about, it ain't gonna be accurate because the price is gonna fluctuate. But if you're using reg shares, it's let you know that you'll be averaging 18 a weekly, about $78 a month. That's as simple as I can put it. Uh, Curtis, good friend says, Curtis, wow. Bitwise look like the move for monthly payers. I said, I just hope that Bitwise can maintain the price and not depreciate as quickly so it's still new. Let's see how it works out. Yes, I like ICOI. I like IGME. I like ICRC. And I like IETH of Bitwise. And I'm looking to get into those as my monthly payer. And I'll probably along with Rec Shares, AIPI, and I think FEPI, I think, or either CEPI. I can't remember which one it is. Mike says, Merry Christmas, bro. For unto you, is born this day in the city of David a Savior who is Christ the Lord. Luke 2:11. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Philippians 4:13. Trust in the Lord. Trust in the Lord brings blessings. Jeremiah chapter 17, verses 7 through 8. Good deal, Mike. And then for those who wants to translate it, when it says unto, just say for two. You is born, thee is you, thy, all those things. Lord help me to translate those in my mind because I can't do all this Shakespeare reading, but He helped me translate that when you're reading some of the older testaments. All right, Maurice says, besides ICOI, what other bitwise eat? Wait a minute, hold on, people, hold on. Now, I mentioned that Bitwise is out there, right? Me mentioning Bitwise is not a suggestion for anyone to buy or even sell their position. I am bringing it to your attention, but I'm not suggesting you go buy any of these Bitwise or any other ETF that personally I am getting or that I mentioned. I do share it, bring it to your attention that these are out there, but it's up to you to do your own due diligence and make your decision whether you want to get into those positions. Now, with that bit said, yes, I do get some of the Bitwise. He said, besides that one, and what other Bitwise do you like? I said, Maurice, I actually like all 6 option income from Bitwise. I like iConey, I like iMiss, I like iMara, I like iGameStop, I like iEthereum, I like iCircle, and I probably would choose these 4 to start out with: iConey, iGameStop, iEthereum, and iCircle. Crypto 4 says, are those monthly or weekly? I said, these are monthly paying ETF from Bitwise. Dividend Sith says, still here, hitting the like and commenting, yep, yams. I think he's saying yams, right? Yams. I said, thank, sir, for the early Christmas present. It is much welcome. Like Hillbilly says, thank you, sir. Deep pockets. I say, you're welcome, brother. Dividend says, YieldMaxMindset. Everybody with me? If you're watching this video, say it with me. YieldMaxMindset. I said, that's it. YieldMaxMindset. Yes. All right. The next one. Man, we losing time. Dividend says I get paid 4 days a week from Round Hill. Only day I don't get paid is Thursday, and that's CHPY and KYLD. So that is from YieldMax. I think it's semiconductor, I think. And then this is KYLD from Curve ETF. I says I'm hoping also that with the position I'm hoping to add sometime next year. Let's go. He says, what is your plan as far as weekly ETF? If more people like ETF providers add some good weekly ETF on different days, I'll pay attention. I do like have at least one per day and working on building my daily payouts until I get them to 1,000 per day. Daily payouts until I get them to 1,000 per day. So basically, he will be getting about 5 to 6K a week. Well, let's say 4 to 6K, because sometimes they're gonna fluctuate, and that's good. If he's getting that a week, then that means he's getting almost what 12 to 20K a month. And he says, I am away from the goal, but time and consistency with compounding, and I get there. I says, I'm still working on I'm still working on the list. I'm figuring out what days a week these other funds are paying and the monthly I like. Then after choosing from the list that I like, then I'll maybe select 2 to 3 from each day of the week that I really want. He said, "You max mindset." That's what I'm talking about, man. Appreciate it. All right, shorts. Let's see here. I keep hitting the wrong button, don't I? All right, short. All right, 3 days ago. Craven God says, bro, sell cover calls so your SoFi shares. Sell cover calls on your SoFi shares. I said, that's something I need to learn for sure. Just don't seem to have the time. He said, look, dude, it's super easy. And you can make about 1,200 a month by selling cover calls. I do it on my 600 shares and I make about 560 a month in premium. I said, I guess I need to take some time in the future with paper money. He said, check this out, man. He says, selling an option is easy. A 10-year-old kid can do it. Just watch one video on YouTube and about selling options and get out of these YieldMax ETF because they just suck. He said, I was just like you in YieldMax ETF and stocks, and I lost all that great dividend. Now I sell options and run the wheel strategy and make 2K a month. That's great. Um, and I think I was saying earlier, I do remember doing some cover calls in my E Trade account. And that's because I was listening to someone, and it was the way she had us doing it is you would find a stock that you go to Yahoo Finance, you look at the quarterly um, revenue, I think it was, and if it has an upward trend, that's one criteria to select. She said it had to pay dividends, and the third criteria was I think it has to sell options weekly. You have to be able to do options weekly, right? And I was doing it, and I really wasn't really doing it. I was using play money, and so I got to get back and figure out how to do that. I guess with the RobinHood and use play money because I definitely want to. I really I don't have money to do options because I think you need about 10K to do options. I think, and so I don't have $10,000 to spare to do options. that I, because I don't want to lose that money in options, Uh, but anyway, all right. So all that's 9 days ago, 8 days ago. All right. So we're through with that. So let's get this one. All right. Dave the lender. Dave is very knowledgeable, y'all. I wonder, does Dave, if you're listening, do you have your own YouTube channel? Because you are very knowledgeable. Most everything you stated has been pretty much on par. He says SoFi shares are just wasting your equity at this point. And he meaning that I got in and it's holding my money hostage. I'm not making any premiums. I'm not making any dividends on it. And that's what he means. He says it's just in the holding spot and I can't do anything. They got me hostage. He says it's been flat, which is actually perfect to do cover calls on. At least your 1,000 shares will be making about 3 to 5 a month while you're waiting for it to go up instead of nothing. Um, Nomad Investor says, yeah, I agree. Same thing was happening to me. So I sold all of my SoFi shares and swapped them for these positions. And I'm doing cover calls on those while I wait for them to go up. I said cover calls hopefully is in the future when I get some spare time. I can look into how to do these. Guess I need to do these with, some paper trading, basically what I was saying. Jam says it looks like you put your money in and there was a pullback. He's correct. Jam said James. I said Jam. I guess it was Jam, but it's James. James says, "Why did you pull back so hard? Why did you pull back so hard? And how much did you borrow in margin?" Well, pull back so hard because I borrowed too much. And I was being risque with it, y'all. I ain't gonna lie. I was being risque. I knew that, you know. Um, and I was almost made it through the year playing it the way I was doing it until October the 10th. And things just kept going down week after week after week after week. And I just wasn't, and I think I was set up for monthly dividends because my biggest position was Coney. So I wasn't making enough between the monthly payouts to pay down the margin. So so by the time the next payment came on the EX date, it's gonna drop. So it would drop additional $4,000 or $5,000 because that's what Coney was gonna pay out. So that didn't help until I got the dividend. So it was yeah, yeah, yeah. But anyway, yeah, that's the reason why I borrowed so much, and that's what it pulled back, and I sold because it just kept dropping and dropping, and at that point I was finally concerned about losing my initial capital because that I could not afford to lose. I could afford to give them back their shares and lose my dividends that they would allow me to use with their margin, but I couldn't afford to lose my $28,000 I had put in back in September or August when I started this channel in 2024. That part, I come to the realization I can't lose that because if I lost that capital because of margin, then it would be a sad day for me. All right. Man, we're almost out. All right. Post. See here. All right. This was 8 days ago. Max Daniel says, worst funds ever. They'll lose every week and they'll blame it on the underlying stock and stay away, he says. Look, I think a combination, yeah, it's people money and people had very legitimate reason to be concerned with YieldMax. And I'm not excusing YieldMax funds because obviously I was a very strong supporter of YieldMax funds, and when they came out, there really wasn't anything else. I think Neo was out there, Defiance, but there really wasn't no round hill at the time. They gradually came on. Granite shares gradually came on. Bitwise came later on. So when you first got in these, you didn't have a lot of options. I was in Texley, OART. I did do round hill XDTE and what was the other one? RDT for a while there. but it wasn't paying enough dividends, right? So I think the combination of how the market, if you go back and you look at 2024 and you look at YieldMax funds, because there was stability in the market, even though they kept saying for 4 years we're going to be in a recession. Ain't nobody said too much about a recession now, and the market is turbulent, right? But you had stability, you had more calm in the market. So the YieldMax funds were able to function in an environment like that. In this environment where there's just so much turbulence and the underlinings, um, it just didn't, that combination just didn't work out. Um, and there are some YieldMax funds that are decent, but people want the ones that pay the huge dividends, but they don't, you know. And YieldMax tells you, hey, our main goal is to pay the highest yield possible. Um, so we knew that going in. But no one likes to use their investment money. I get it. I'm not here to tell people to get into YieldMax. I will be choosing some YieldMax positions because hey, they they were the ones who introduced me to high yield. So I feel a debtor to um, gratitude for them, and I will continue to support them. I'm not saying everybody else have to. I will, but I will be a lot smarter in just how I invest. That was on me, not YieldMax. My situation. Um, a lot of us bought at the high point, right? Like me, I would go all in on Coney in big bulk instead of gradually, you know, DCA over a week or month, so that you would have a decent cost basis. But if y'all was like me, I was trying to hurry up and get to the promised land quick. I wasn't trying to wait. I was trying to get there. I was trying to get there, and I was almost there. But I guess the Lord had to humble me, right? All right. So he says, yeah, I read it already, right? So let's move on. All right. I think this is the last one, right? I think this is the last one. All right. James says, bro, shut that margin off. Shut it off. Bro, shut the margin off, please. Learn to paper trade. Uh, yep, I got to do that. He says, you're down 50K and you're continuing down the same path. Do the uh do the definition of insanity. Insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. All right. You bought a bunch of meme stocks after they peaked. Learn to read financial reports. That is something I do. I do not deny that. I do need to read financial reports. I guess I need to get ChatGPT to help me on some YouTubers. He says, and only buy if they are worth it and make sure to diversify. He's absolutely right on diversification. I was over leveraged in Coney and Misty. He says, if you want to meet up, I'll show you the safe way to invest. Um, Mr. Dark Assassin, I like that name too. Mr. Dark Assassin says, what ETF do you invest in? I said, high yield ETFs. And I just didn't explain. But if you're still watching Mr. Dark Assassin, um, um, if you watch one of the, excuse me, the Round Hill videos that I do during the week, there's a, tell you what, let me just pull it up here. If you're still watching, how about that? How about that? How about that? Mm-mm. So right here, so right here, you can't see this, but it says above. It says Rec Shares, Defiance, Neo Fund, Curve, Round Hill, Granite Shares, Pro Shares, YieldMax, Bitwise. Check those websites out, and you can get a list of their ETFs. And there's more. There's more out there that's coming along. But yeah, I didn't quite answer you there. Um, you don't really want to go back and watch the shorts. I mean, you may want to see how I moved and what I was doing, but you probably don't want to choose those positions, right? So don't choose those positions. I'm not suggesting that. Just continue watching and watch other YouTubers and watch the people comments. They're going to make suggestions on what they're doing, and they may suggest some that I should get into. All right. I think that's it. Playlist. Yep. That's it. All right. So 1 minute 1 hour and 20 minutes. A little bit longer, but we did good. All right. So look, this is the end of the year. I may have, I don't know, don't quote me on. I got a lot, got church going on this week. Um, this week, revival. Of course, I won't maybe make it every night, just tomorrow night because I got work. But hey, I may have some shorts. I may do some shorts on the end of year stuff. Maybe giving you guys a shout out for all the comments that you all have dropped in a short. Things of that nature. Um, I may do I may figure out to do something in a year. I don't know. We'll see. Time don't permit, so it'll just be another video like this. If time do permit and I have time to sit down and get something together, I may try to summarize this past year. Um, we'll see. Sometimes I put a lot of time into creating the distribution videos, and that takes sometimes 2 to 3 hours to get those done per video. And it just doesn't leave a lot of time for me to do my due diligence on my own for research purposes, and then having other responsibilities that I need to take care of. But y'all, thank you all for dropping in. I thank you all for viewing the content. And let's pray and hope that 2026 will be a prosperous year for us investors, and that in the world there's more stability, that calmer heads will prevail, that we will have respect for the individual. No one should look down on anyone regardless of race, creed, religion. Treat everyone how you want to be treated, and not think you're just too so better than anyone else, right? Because that's not how the Lord looks at and treat it. And sometimes it's hard to follow those things that the Lord teaches. But if we're going to be like Him, we have to embody those things. And then that means that we're going to be hated because we're going to take on His traits and follow in His footsteps and speak on those things that we should do. Because the world needs an opposite voice, that's speaking righteousness and not things that are unholy. Um, Love one another and just love and treat people like you want to be repeated. Treat people how you want to be treated, right? All right, this is YieldMax Mindset. I'm out. Y'all have a blessed week. Be safe this New Year's. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. So if you don't do anything I wouldn't do, then I know you're gonna be safe. All right. All right. Let's have a prosperous New Year, and may the Lord keep us first, most importantly, with health and strength above money, health and strength, and that our souls will be saved, and that He desires that our soul prospers, that we prosper just like our soul prospers. All right, I'm out. This is your Max Mindset. Love you guys. Appreciate it.